As the economy worsens with growing unemployment and layoffs, a lot of this is getting blamed on AI. I want to talk about why this is complete and utter nonsense. The first thing to understand, though, is the underlying logic to this. It's just the idea that because AI is so great, it's so efficient, the idea is that it takes fewer people to do the same kind of work. So once your productivity is matched, then you can just get rid of all the excess people you no longer need. But this is complete nonsense for several reasons. The first reason is AI is not as productive as we were told. There have been studies done on this both in terms of workers, but even, these capitalist executives. So when it comes to workers who use AI at their job, most of them find it makes no difference. And then there's a significant share that actually finds AI makes their job more difficult. In other words, having to use AI leads to issues which actually slows down their work, and only a small share actually find that leads to more productivity, greater efficiency of work. And even executives, these are the capitalists who are looking at labor costs and how to minimize it and attack workers. A lot of them are also actually finding that the AI they spent billions of dollars on is not leading to the kind of savings that they had hoped for. But ignoring all this, let's imagine even just for an instance that AI was super efficient and that was saving the amount of hours that were required to do work. Well, the thing is, when there's greater efficiency under capitalism, it's not like, there's fewer hours that have to be put in. All that changes is when there's greater efficiency, you have two options. You can either reduce the amount of labor or you can increase production. And capitalists always choose increasing production. Yes, they do lay people off, but they lay people off for different reasons. Maybe because they find cheaper workers abroad in other countries, for instance. But let's think of, a couple examples. For instance, the email. When the email came out, 30, 40 years ago, people were so excited. Sending letters was so tedious. Emails were going to save so much time. But what ends up happening is not that your email replaces the couple letters you'd send a day. What ends up happening instead is you're actually expected just to do so much more. You do have to go through 50, 100 emails a day, whereas previously you would actually just send out a couple letters. And what actually ends up happening is that this work now is actually greater than it ever was. So in other words, the production has to increase for the worker. It's not like workers necessarily get laid off because of the technology. So if this is all the case, then why are we being told that AI is leading to layoffs? Well, it's because it's a form of PR. What these companies are trying to do, they're trying to make you believe that this is just an automatic process and not an attack on workers, when that's actually precisely what is being done. Thank you so much.